Hello everyone. Let's start tenses. Tenses for your writing and speaking. Let's focus on the present simple. In fact, in present tense, we have 4 different types of tenses: simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous, and present perfect. Let's focus on present simple. I study every day. This is something I do every day. It happens in the present. They sometimes study together. They study together, but only sometimes. They repeat this process only once in a while, but they repeat this process at the present time. The two sentences are in simple present. We use the simple present tense to express facts and general truths, to talk about repeated actions or routines, to talk about habits, to talk about fixed arrangements, to make past events more recent, to give instructions and directions. So these are the practices. Everyone has to practice them. Number 2, present continuous. In the present continuous tense, we talk about things that are happening right now and are unfinished. For example, Andrew is studying right now. The subject is Andrew. The helping verb is, and the verb is study. We add ing at the end of the verb to show that it's happening right now. We use present continuous to talk about continuous events or activities. You're walking to school. To talk about future events. We are walking to school on Monday. I'm landing on the moon. I'm playing. You're surveying. I'm teaching English. I'm washing the marsh. I'm dressing up. My cat is crossing crossroads. I'm doing my work. I'm having fun. I'm breathing. I'm swimming. I'm cutting. present perfect continuous. We use present perfect continuous tense for things that began in the past, are still continuing now, and we may continue into the future. Here is an example. Andrea has been studying since morning. She started in the morning, she's still studying, and she may continue to study longer. The subject is Andrea, and the verb is to study. Ing at the end of the verb. End of a verb means it is happening right now. The helping verb phrase has been tells us that Andrea was studying and continues to do so. They have been working on the moon for 3 hours. We use the present perfect continuous tense to talk about events or activities that started in the past and continue into the present and future. You have to repeat them aloud so that your spoken ability will be refined. I have been listening to audiobooks for 3 hours. I have been enjoying life for years. Andrea and Urizen have been surveying human interactions for 3 months. I have been teaching English since the opening of the school. Urizen has been watching the night sky for 4 hours. Urizen has been washing the marsh since 5. I have been dressing up since the dresser was opened. I have been buzzing along the runway all morning. I have been boxing my boxes since dawn. I have been going around all day. I have been having vegetables for dinner for 3 years. I've been breathing since birth. I've been running for an hour. Now, present perfect. Let's look at these 2 examples. Andrea has been studying music for 5 years. Andrea has studied music for 5 years. In the first example, Andrea has been studying music, but she's not finished yet. Andrea can continue to study music in the future. This is present perfect continuous. In the second example, Andrea has studied and she is still continuing to study. This is the present perfect. These 2, although in different tenses, have the same meaning. We can use either one of them to tell the same thing. However, let's look at the following examples. Andrea has been learning this piece of music. Andrea has learned this piece of music. These 2 examples, however, have 2 completely different meanings. In the first example, Andrea has been studying this piece of music and she is continuing to learn this piece of music. It's a present perfect continuous. In the second example, Andrea has already learned this piece of music and has stopped. If she wants to, she can continue to learn this piece of music at a later time. But for now, this action is finished. This is present perfect. Okay, so this present perfect. Now let's focus on some of the examples. Okay, we use present perfect tense to talk about things that happened in the past and continue into the present. Okay, Andrea has studied music for 5 years. Talk about actions which have not yet finished. Andy has studied hard this year. Talk about actions repeated in a specific period between past and the present. Andy has studied that piece of music 6 times. Talk about actions which have just been completed. Andy has just finished studying. Talk about actions when time is not important. Andy has studied violin, viola, and cello. Look at these verbs and past participles. Every verb has 3 forms. Generally, you know that. Okay, like act, acted, acted. So we're using verb 3 here. Okay, so be, was, been. Third form. Begin, began, begun. Third form. Rise, rose, risen. Third form. We're using third form over here. Okay, few more examples. See, I've thrown the rock into the water. I've conveyed the message. I've taken my flying lessons this week. I've written the letter. I've enjoyed life for 3 days. I've surveyed human interactions for 3 months. I've partied since the party started. I watched the night sky for hours. It has taught English since the opening of the school. I've crossed crossroads after age 11. I've jazzed all night. I've gone all the way to the end. I have had vegetables. I've swum before the water was tested. I've studied this piece of music six times. I have been to Grand Canyon. Let's talk about past tense. Past tense is used for things that have already happened. They could have happened a year ago, a day ago, a second ago. Let's review the past tenses. Simple past, past continuous, past perfect continuous, past perfect. Simple past. Take a look at this sentence. We landed on the moon in 1969. The verb land is in the past tense. Now, if we change the subject to the she, nothing else needs to be changed. She landed on the moon in 1969. We use simple past tense to talk about things that happened in the past at a specific time. Andrea played the piano yesterday. At an unspecific time, Andrea played the piano a long time ago. Over a period of time, Andrea played the piano for 2 weeks. Over a period of time. I enjoyed show yesterday. Andrea conveyed a message 5 minutes ago. I planted sunflower seeds last month. I partied last night. Andrea munched apple a few minutes ago. I pushed the bush 2 hours ago. It crossed the crossroad at 11. My cat jazzed tonight. She went all the way to the end. My cat had vegetables for dinner last night. My cat swam before the water was tested. Past continuous. To learn the past continuous tense, let's take a look at these sentences. At this time yesterday, we were landing on the moon. The helping verb is were. The main verb is land plus ing. If you change the subject to she, then we will need to change the helping verb to was. At this time, yesterday, she was landing on the moon. When the subject is the third person singular, or the first person, we need to use was as the helping verb. For all other subjects, use were. We use past continuous tense to talk about things that were happening in the past while something else happened. Yesterday, while my cat was landing on the moon, NASA called. Things that were completed at a specific time in the past. I was listening to audiobooks when you called. I was surveying human behavior when a happy man showed up. I was studying at 10 o'clock. I was watching stars while meteors flashed across the sky. He was munching apples while a leaf fell from the tree. He was pushing the bush when a guest arrived. He was buzzing along the runway while they were playing the game. While I was boxing my boxes, it began. While it was going to work, it started. While Andrea and Urizen were having vegetables, a monk said, "Good." You were swimming while it rained. My cat was cutting just as it started to rain. Past perfect continuous. We use the past perfect continuous tense for things that started to happen in the past and continued to happen when something else happened in the past. Here is an example. Andrea had been studying for 3 hours before she fell asleep. The subject is Andrea. The main verb is study plus ing. The helping verb phrase had been made it clear that this happened in the past. Take a look at this sentence. They had been working on the moon for 3 hours when an alien showed up. When the subject is changed to they, the helping verb phrase is still had been. We use past perfect continuous tense to talk about things that happened in the past and continue to happen when something else happened also in the past. My cat had been landing on the moon when NASA called. I had been playing the piano when my cat mewed. I had been surveying human interactions when the march began. Urizen had been studying and won competition. You had been teaching English since the opening of this school. Andrea and Urizen had been watching the sky all night. Urizen had been washing the marsh before a fish came. Andrea had been dressing before it showed up. I had been buzzing along the runway when the plane took off. Andrea had been jazzing when the show started. He had been doing his work when it snowed. Urizen had been having fun when the party started. I had been running when it thundered. My cat had been swimming when a turtle came. Past perfect. Look at these sentences. Andrea had studied for 3 hours before she fell asleep. The subject is Andrea, and the main verb is studied, the past participle form of study. The helping verb had tell us that these events happened in the past. Now let's take a look at this sentence. They had studied for 3 hours before they fell asleep. When the subject is changed to they, the helping verb is still had. We use the past perfect tense to talk about things that happened in the past before something else happened. My cat had landed the moon when NASA called. I had played the piano before my cat mewed. We had surveyed human interactions before the march started. My cat had studied before I won the competition. Andrea and Urizen had taught English before the opening of the school. I had washed the march before a fish came. I had dressed before it showed up. They had buzzing along the runway before the plane took off. I had boxed my boxes before a puppy came by. We had gone around before the wind started. Andrea had had vegetables before dinner. You said that you had never flown to the moon before. If you had landed on Venus, you would have been fried. Simple future. To learn simple future tense, look at these sentences. I will study for the test. This is something I promise to do in the future. We use simple future for this tense for these situations. To make promise, I will study for the test. To predict something that will happen in the future. Look like it is going to be sunny tomorrow. To make an offer. Shall we dance? Now let's take a look at these sentences. We will land on the moon. She will land on the moon. I will land on the moon. Andrea will wake up at 7 tomorrow. I'll survey next week. I'll stay home for a week. Andrea and Urizen are going to party tonight. He will watch the sky tonight. My cat will watch the marsh. I'm going to cross the crossroad. Andrea will jazz tonight. I will mix up my friend's card once a while. I'll fix my friend's card once a while. I'll go to work by foot. I'll have vegetables for dinner. It will be cold. I'm about to get started. Future continuous. To learn the future continuous tense, look at the following sentences. Tomorrow at this time, I'll be studying for the test. Future continuous indicates an ongoing action that will take place in the future. In the example above, studying is something that I will be doing tomorrow at this time. We use future continuous tense to indicate that we will be in the middle of doing something at a certain time in the future. Next Monday at 10, I'll be taking the test. To talk about things that are happening right now and that are expected to continue into the future. And now I'll still be taking the test. To politely ask about someone's future plans. Will you be picking milk up on the way home? To guess what will happen in the future. She'll be getting her driver's license soon. When you wake up tomorrow, my cat will be landing on the moon. When you wake up at 7, they'll be getting a gift. A week from now, I'll be staying. A week from now, I'll be playing the new game. When you arrive next week, Andy and Unison will be surveying. Next week, I'll be buying lunch for a week. I'll be teaching English when I get there. In October, I'll be munching apples. At noon, she'll be pushing the bush. Andy and Unison will be buzzing along the runway. When you land, I'll be relaxing on my relaxation bench at 5:30. Andy and Unison will be fixing my friend's car while my friend watches. A week from now, I'll be having fun on the beach. When the monks come, it will be having vegetables for dinner. Tonight at 10, Andy and Urizen will still be singing at the show. My cat will be getting an A for the test or on the test. Will my cat be picking that up on the way home? Future perfect continuous, you can see. Tomorrow at this time, I'll have been studying for 12 hours. This example indicates that studying is a continuous action that is currently happening and will continue to happen until tomorrow at this time. We use future perfect continuous tense to refer to continuing events or actions that will have been finished at a specific time in the future. When you come at 10, I'll have been taking the test for an hour. When you wake up at 8, we'll have been sleeping for 10 hours. In 2 days, I'll have been learning the tenses for 2 weeks. A week from now, he will have been playing the week. A week from now, he will have been playing the new game for a month. In a month, my cat will have been enjoying life for a year. When the snow stops, I will have been playing for 2 hours. When the snow melts, we will have been studying. We'll have been staying home for a week. By tomorrow, she will have been buying lunch for a week. When the plane lands, Urizen will have been flying for 3,000 hours. When the cloud moves in, I will have been watching the night sky for 4 hours. In October, they will have been munching apples for a month. By September, it will have been washing the mats for 3 months. At noon, my cat will have been pushing the bush for an hour. We'll have been jazzing for 2 hours when Nathan arrives. She will have been boxing my boxes for 3 days. When the day comes, by noon, Urizen will have been relaxing on my relaxation bench for 2 hours. I'll have been doing my work for 6 hours when others go to lunch. You will have been going to work for 10 minutes when the sun rises. My cat will have been going to work for 10 minutes when the sun rises. Future perfect. I'll have studied all 12 tenses by the time I finish this chapter. We use the future perfect tense to refer to continuing events or actions that will be finished at a specific period of time in the future. By the time you arrive, I'll have taken the test. By the end of this hour, I will have listened to audiobooks for 2 hours. By the end of the week, Andrea and Urizen will have learned tenses for 2 weeks. By the time I arrive, you will have surveyed for 3 weeks. By the end of the hour, she will have played for 2 hours. By the time the snow melts, Andrea and Urizen will have stayed home for a week. By the time the plane lands, she will have flown for 3,000 hours. At the end of the class, Urizen will have taught English for 3 hours. In October, he will have munched apples for a month. By September, Andrea and Urizen will have washed the march for 3 months. I will have buzzed along the runway for 30 minutes when you arrive, when you land. He will have jazzed for 2 hours when Nathan arrives. Urizen will have boxed my boxes for 3 days when Nathan arrives. By noon, I will have fixed my friend's car for 3 hours. They will have done their work for 6 hours when others go to lunch. Thank you. Practice these tenses by heart them, and I'm going to take a test in the class today.